Think about the person you trust most in this world. Now think about the person who makes you feel instantly uncomfortable. Someone whose energy just puts you on edge before they've even said anything significant. You have explanations for both of those reactions. You'd tell a story if someone asked. We've been through a lot together. Or there's just something off about them. But what if I told you that neither of those reactions started with those people? What if the real origin is locked inside a period of your life you have zero conscious access to, years that are completely invisible to your memory? And those years are quietly deciding who you trust, who you fear, how you love, and how you fall apart. Not metaphorically, not philosophically, neurologically. Here's what's strange about this. You lived those years. You were conscious. You were feeling things, learning things, forming responses to the world at a speed your adult brain could never match again. And then, gone. A near total blackout. Most people have nothing before age 3. Some have fragments from age 4. The most formative chapter of your entire existence exists in almost complete silence inside your mind. So the question isn't just where did those memories go? The real question, the one that actually matters for your life right now, is what did those years leave behind? Because they left something deep, something that is operating inside you at this exact moment without your permission or awareness. And if you want to make sure you catch everything we're about to uncover, hit subscribe right now. Because this is the kind of content that doesn't show up on your feed unless you tell it to. Let's go find it. Most people, when they think about what shaped them, go to their teenage years, a difficult teacher, a painful breakup, a defining moment they can replay in full detail. And those things matter. But psychology researchers have known for decades that the foundations were poured much earlier, in a window of time your conscious mind cannot reach. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The version of you sitting here right now, the way you handle conflict, the way you respond, when someone pulls away from you, the amount of anxiety you carry as a baseline, what feels safe and what feels threatening. That version of you was significantly shaped before you could form a single retrievable memory. You didn't choose those patterns. You didn't consciously learn them. You absorbed them the way a building absorbs the shape of its foundation, completely, invisibly, and permanently enough that the whole structure above reflects it without anyone noticing where it came from. Now, before this starts sounding like a blame your childhood excuse, stop. This is not about blame. This is not about victimhood. This is about understanding a system that is running inside you, whether you understand it or not. And the only difference between understanding it and not understanding it is whether you get to have a say in what happens next. In the 1960s and 70s, psychologist Mary Ainsworth conducted a now famous series of experiments called the Strange Situation Studies. She observed how infants responded when briefly separated from their caregivers and then reunited. What she found became one of the most replicated findings in all of developmental psychology. Infants whose caregivers had been consistently responsive showed what researchers call secure attachment. When reunited after separation, they were quickly comforted and returned to exploring the world with confidence. Infants with inconsistent or emotionally unavailable caregivers showed anxious or avoidant patterns, either clinging desperately and struggling to settle, or appearing detached, suppressing their distress so completely it barely registered on the surface. Here's why this matters for you as an adult. Those same patterns, secure, anxious, avoidant, show up with striking consistency in adult romantic relationships, work dynamics, and friendships decades later. The adult who struggles to ask for help even when they desperately need it. The person who becomes intensely anxious the moment someone they care about seems distant. The individual who pushes people away right when intimacy increases. These are not personality flaws. These are implicit memory programs, written in the first years of life, running continuously, and completely invisible to the person they're running inside of. You are not broken, you are calibrated, and calibration can be recalibrated. Here's something that will genuinely unsettle you. Some of the earliest memories you believe you have right now, the ones you'd confidently describe as real, are probably reconstructions. not distortions, not exaggerations, constructions. Your brain built them from photographs you've seen, stories adults repeated at family gatherings, and emotional impressions, then filed them in the same location as genuine memories. Now they feel real. They have the texture of real memories. You'd swear by them. Memory researchers call this source confusion, and it's not rare or unusual. It is standard human cognition. Think about your earliest memory right now. Where did it come from? Did you always remember it unprompted? Or did someone tell you about it first? Is there a photograph? The honest answer for most people is, they genuinely cannot be certain, which raises a question worth sitting with. If the story you tell about your earliest years is partly constructed from what other people told you about yourself, how much of your identity is built on borrowed narrative? So what do you do with all of this? You can't go back. You can't retrieve what isn't there. You can't audit the first 3 years with the tools of conscious memory, but you can do something more powerful. Step 1. Start noticing the patterns, not the triggers. The next time you have a disproportionate emotional reaction, you shut down when someone criticizes you, you panic when someone needs space, you feel inexplicably safe or unsafe in situations that don't fully explain those feelings. Don't just focus on what triggered it. Ask, where does this response feel like it comes from? Not the surface, deeper. What is this reaction assuming about the world? Step 2. Recognize implicit memory as information, not identity. Your automatic responses are not who you are. They are who you were trained to be in conditions you had no control over. That distinction is everything. One is fixed, the other is a starting point. Step 3. Create new evidence. The brain is plastic. Implicit patterns update, not through insight alone, but through repeated new experiences that contradict the old calibration. Safe relationships, consistent environments, therapy that works at the level of nervous system response, not just cognitive reframing. Every time you stay in a difficult conversation instead of shutting down, you are writing new implicit memory. Every time you ask for help and receive it, you are updating the setting that says help isn't available. Every time you tolerate uncertainty without catastrophizing, you are expanding your nervous system's tolerance. You are not fighting your past. You are giving your nervous system new data. Here is what I want you to actually walk away holding. The years you cannot remember are not blank. They are the most written on years of your entire life. They contain the instructions your nervous system has been following ever since, about safety, about love, about whether you matter, about how much of yourself it's okay to need. You didn't write those instructions. You were too young. You had no say, but you are not too young now. Understanding that your deepest behavioral patterns have an origin, even an origin you can't consciously access, removes something heavy from the equation. It removes the idea that this is just who I am, because it was never just who you are. It was what you learned before you knew you were learning anything. And what was learned can, with the right experiences and enough repetition, be relearned. The most self-aware people you will ever meet are not the ones with the clearest memories of their childhood. They are the ones who got curious about their own patterns, who stopped treating their automatic responses as personality and started treating them as data. Data can be examined. Data can be updated. Data is not destiny. You were shaped by years you cannot see, but you are not trapped inside them. If this gave you something to think about, share it with someone who's been trying to understand why they respond the way they do. Sometimes the most useful thing you can offer someone isn't advice, it's a framework. And if you want to go deeper into how your brain builds behavior, identity, and the stories you tell about yourself, the next video is already there. I'll see you in it.